Okay, your crypto isn't in your wallet. It's on the blockchain. Just let that sink in for a second. I know, it kind of shatters the biggest myth in Web3, right? If you've been thinking your digital assets are literally sitting inside that app on your phone, or maybe locked inside that little USB stick on your desk, well, you're definitely not alone. But you are mistaken. Your wallet is really just a keychain. It literally just holds the keys. Lose the keys, you lose the crypto. If someone steals those keys, yep, you lose the crypto. So, the absolute most important question we need to ask is, where exactly are you keeping those keys?
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to totally demystify crypto security. Back in the day, the golden rule was basically just get a hardware wallet or lose everything. But honestly, today, it's just not that simple anymore. Software wallets have actually gotten a lot safer, hardware wallets are getting targeted by some seriously clever scams, and man, a surprising number of people lose their life savings just because they hid their passwords so well that they forgot them. So we're going to build your crypto defense today. No confusing jargon, absolutely zero fear-mongering. Just clear, actionable trade-offs based on how these systems actually work in the real world.
So here's our quick roadmap for the explainer today. First, the truth about wallets. Second, software wallets. Third, hardware wallets. Fourth, how you actually get hacked. And finally, number 5, building your own personal storage plan.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the truth about wallets, and shifting that mental model.
Think of the blockchain like a massive global bank vault. To move your money out of it, you have to sign a permission slip. Now, your private key, that's your master key for that slip. It's basically a giant 256-bit number. If anyone gets their hands on it, they own everything. Period. Then you have your public key, which is just used to create your public address. That's the one you can safely hand out to people to receive funds. But the absolute most crucial element here is your seed phrase. Please remember, those 12 to 24 words are not just some simple password recovery tool, they are literally your private key translated into human-readable words. Anyone holding those words can instantly generate your addresses and completely drain your vault.
Moving on to Section 2, software wallets. Fast, vulnerable, and the classic battle of convenience versus security.
So here's the thing. Both software and hardware wallets actually store the exact same kind of private key. The critical difference is where the actual signing of your transactions happens. With a software wallet, your private key lives right there on your phone or your computer. When you hit confirm, the app signs the transaction using your device's memory, which is connected to the internet. Now that's incredibly convenient for your daily trading, right? But it leaves you super exposed to malware. It's literally like keeping your house keys tucked under your computer keyboard. A hardware wallet, on the other hand, is like keeping your keys bolted inside a massive steel safe that just has a tiny document slot. You slide the unsigned document in, the device stamps it safely inside, and then passes only the signature back out.
So if hardware is so much safer, why wouldn't everyone just use a hardware wallet? Well, it really boils down to this magic number, $1,000. If your total portfolio is under $1,000, honestly, a software wallet is actually enough. Just think about it. Spending, say, an $80 fee for a physical device just to protect a $300 portfolio? That's simply bad math. If you're a beginner and you're working with a smaller stack, the upfront cost and the extra friction of a hardware device just isn't worth it quite yet.
Okay, Section 3, hardware wallets, the vault. Let's talk about air gaps and secure elements. Let's completely remove the tech magic for a second and look at how these devices actually protect you through air-gapped signing. It's a pretty neat process. First, your computer sends the unsigned data over to your device, like a ledger or a Trezor. Second, your device displays the transaction details on its own separate little screen. Third, you manually verify it and physically click the buttons on the device. And finally, the device signs the transaction internally on its secure chip and sends back absolutely nothing but the signature. Your actual private key never even touches your potentially infected PC, which means even if your computer is completely riddled with keyloggers, hackers simply cannot extract your key.
But wait, we absolutely have to clear up a massive misconception here. A hardware device is obedient. It is perfectly obedient, actually. But it is not smart. These devices will happily sign literally whatever you tell them to sign. To the blockchain, a signature is a signature. It doesn't care if you used a fancy, expensive ledger or a super-infected hot wallet. So if a phishing site tricks you into approving a malicious smart contract, what we usually call a drainer, your hardware wallet is going to stamp that approval right through, and you will lose your funds. The device does an amazing job protecting your key from malware, but it definitely does not protect your brain from bad decisions.
Let's dive into Section 4, how you get hacked, analyzing the actual threat landscape.
Now let's look at the real battleground out there. Malware. Things like keyloggers or clipboard hijackers, those easily beat a software wallet.
but they are stopped dead in their tracks by the air-gapped signing of a hardware wallet. Phishing, however, that beats both. If you sign a fake permit on a scam site, you're getting drained, hardware or not. Your best defense there is just taking a 30-second pause to verify things using transaction simulation tools. Then you've got the supply chain attack, like buying a compromised device off eBay. That beats hardware users who don't verify their new device directly with the manufacturer's software. And finally, the dreaded $5 wrench attack. Look, physical coercion beats everything. There's absolutely no piece of tech that stops someone from physically threatening you to unlock your device.
You know, these high-level threats usually just translate into simple, everyday user errors. Because at the end of the day, the biggest vulnerability isn't a flaw in the code, it's us. Hardware wallet users routinely fail because of seed exposure. You know the drill, taking a quick photo of your 24 words just to be safe, which then auto-syncs straight to a hacked iCloud account. The hardware was working perfectly, but that photo killed you. Other fatal errors are things like blind signing malicious contracts, buying used devices, or the absolute classic tragedy: losing the physical device, forgetting your PIN, and losing the scrap of paper your seed was written on. If you lose all three of those, man, your money is gone forever. And trust me, it happens weekly.
All right, bringing it all together in Section 5, your personal storage plan. 4 setups for 4 types of users.
Okay, Profile 1 is the starter. If your portfolio is sitting under $1,000, your setup is strictly a software wallet like MetaMask or Phantom right on your phone. But here's the catch. You absolutely must harden it. Your golden rules are: enable biometric locks like Face ID, completely disable cloud backups in your phone's settings, and use a dedicated browser profile with a security extension like WalletGuard to flag those nasty drainer sites. Your primary goal here is just to learn the ropes securely, and then you can upgrade to a hardware wallet once your portfolio crosses that $2,000 mark.
Next up is Profile 2, what we call the DeFi degen. This is your active trader working with anywhere from 1 to 20 grand. For you, you need a split setup so that one silly mistake doesn't totally ruin you. Your vault is a hardware wallet holding about 80% of your stack. It never ever browses the web, it literally only signs. Then, your active stack is a dedicated software wallet holding the remaining 20% for your daily trading and DeFi stuff. And crucially, you need a burner. This is a third wallet funded with maybe $20 purely for clicking on those sketchy free mints. If your burner gets compromised, hey, who cares? Just remember to make it a strict rule to revoke your old contract permissions every single month.
As we level up to Profile 3, the hodler, the paranoia really starts to scale up. Now we're talking portfolios from $20,000 up to $500,000. You rarely move your funds. Your primary setup is a hardware wallet generated entirely offline, with that seed phrase stamped directly into fireproof steel plates and hidden in separate secure locations. To defend against that $5 wrench attack we talked about, you're going to use a 25th word passphrase. This cleverly creates a hidden decoy wallet. So if someone physically threatens you, you just give up the PIN to the decoy wallet, which only holds like $100. You might also want to look into a multi-sig setup where it actually requires multiple devices to move funds. And your absolute golden rule: always test your recovery from the seed before you fund the wallet.
Finally, we have Profile 4, the institutional. This is for the big leagues, portfolios over 500 grand or Dow treasuries. At this tier, hardware alone just isn't going to cut it anymore. You need strict policy. The ideal setup here is a 3 of 5 multisig, which means it literally takes 3 out of 5 globally distributed key holders to approve anything. Plus, all transactions should have a mandatory 24-hour time lock. At this massive size, you aren't just trying to outsmart hackers, you are actively protecting the treasury against internal fraud from team members and highly targeted physical coercion.
So if you're looking at these profiles right now and realizing, uh-oh, I really need to upgrade, I want you to follow these exact migration steps to move from a hot wallet to a cold hardware wallet. Step 1. Buy your device directly from the manufacturer. Seriously, never use eBay. Step 2. Generate a brand new seed entirely offline. Step 3. Send a tiny $10 test transaction, physically wipe the device clean, and then restore it from your written seed. If that $10 is still sitting there, awesome, your backup works. Step 4. Now you can move your bulk funds. And Step 5. Retire your old hot wallet permanently. And please remember this absolute rule: never ever type a cold wallet seed phrase into a computer keyboard. The exact second your keyboard touches those words, that wallet is considered hot forever.
All right, so the most crucial point we've learned today is simply that security scales with net worth. $100? That deserves convenience. $100,000? That deserves paranoia. And $1 million absolutely demands strict policy. Look, most people out there do not lose their crypto to some elite hacker in a dark room. They lose it by fumbling their own keys or blindly clicking on a bad signature. So take a hard look at the assets you're holding right now.
Honestly ask yourself, does your current storage setup actually match the real-world value of your stack? And if it doesn't, what are you going to do about it today?